And here, let me just go on a little tangent. Now, listen up. Do not go saying that China, as a socialist country, is just leaving Cuba, another socialist country, to fend for itself. And do not, you dare say we are not helping Cuba. We are their second largest trading partner. Cuba is our fifth largest trading partner in the Caribbean region. China's exports of solar equipment to Cuba soaring from $5 million in 2023 to $1.117 billion in 2025, and it is still climbing steeply. We saw they were about to crash and burn, so we rushed in to build them solar power plants. Hey, when it comes to this news, you guys really need to connect the dots. Let me show you something. Let us take a look at this. All right. First up, let us take a look at this. It is a report from the Wall Street Journal. See that? So, let us look at the numbers. In 2023, we sold Cuba $5 million worth of solar equipment and even threw in some food aid. Fast forward to 2025. And that figure jumps to $117 million. And what is even more important, we plan to help Cuba build 92 solar power stations by 2028. We are really going all out to build these solar power stations for them. So, you see this oil, right? It was pretty much expected that Cuba's oil supply would run into trouble because of the US blockade. Was not it, right? And look here. This is one of the power stations we built for Cuba. One of them, see? So, look, the Cuban government announced this month, and this is a news story from 2025. For the first time, the country's solar power generation surpassed 900 megawatts during the midday hours. Because Cuba's energy demand is low, even a small increase in power supply can have a significant impact. And now, in 2025, solar power accounts for over 10% of Cuba's total electricity generation. This is one of the fastest solar expansions in the world, putting Cuba ahead of most countries, including the United States, in solar power generation. Look at that. Just look at that. It is growing so fast. Unbelievably fast. So, as you can see, our ambassador personally went to inspect the sites where these Cuban household solar devices are being used. On March 11th, 2026, just a few days ago, mind you, the Chinese ambassador to Cuba, along with officials from the Ministry of Trade, Energy and Minerals, and officials from the Ministry of Energy and Mines and Havana Province visited 3 community polyclinics and a people's home for the elderly, as well as the sites where 5,000 sets of household solar equipment provided as aid to Cuba are being used. See that? And do not you dare say China did not help them. We are here for you. Just hold on until 2028. Our only demand is that you, Cuba, do whatever it takes to make it to 2028 for us. And when it comes to Cuba's most competitive industry, cane sugar, comrades, for decades now, and I mean for decades, Cuba and China, as fellow socialist countries, have had a long-term agreement. This agreement was established in the first 30 years. So for the past few years, we have been importing 400,000 tons of sugar from Cuba every single year. And let me stress, that is every year we buy 400,000 tons of sugar annually. So this agreement was signed between us during the 3-year hardship period from 1958 to 1962. And it has been in effect ever since. Back then, from 1958 to 1959, our sugar production was 1.1 million tons. China produced 1.1 million tons of sugar. By 1961 and 62, that had plummeted to just 310,000 tons. So because of the difficulties, the shortage was just staggering. That is why we urgently purchased 500,000 tons of Cuban sugar. Later on, we found that this Cuban sugar was, did I miss a sat? Sorry, my bad. Whoops, my apologies. Whoops, it is SA again. And later, we found that this Cuban sugar was actually a pretty good emergency resource, right? I have told you guys about this before, have not I? During the Captain's Group live stream, I have brought this up. They were making these high-end desserts. Fancy candies. So they used this system to stabilize the entire economy and soak up a ton of currency. Back then, we had a system where food was rationed, right? You would get your salary, but you still needed food coupons to actually buy food. So for the average worker, they did not have much cash, so their money and their grain coupons basically balanced out. But then you have the capitalists who received dividends, the senior technical intellectuals, the doctors. And for professors and that crowd, their monetary wages were high. But with high wages and few grain coupons, they would complain all day long. It is like they were saying, you might as well not pay me at all, right? Even if you give me the money, I cannot buy anything with it. Everything is on a rationing system. So when you have more and more money flooding the market, but the amount of goods stays the same, or even shrinks, what happens? You get inflation. So what is the end game here? So you bring in 50 tons of Cuban sugar, use it to make high-end candies and gourmet desserts, and sell them at premium. That is how you match high prices with high prices. Sell it at a high price to those with high wages, or to the folks who are, bringing in things like eggs and grain from the countryside, and sell them on the market or on the black market to those clever farmers. And then by matching high prices with high prices, they could get that currency back and stabilize the economy. So this sugar, Cuban sugar, was a perfect emergency relief supply for us back then. So for every year after that, we would buy 400,000 pounds, for preparing for war and famine. But, well, things changed after the reform and opening up. Well, not exactly changed. It was more that the demand for sugar supply had changed. So after the reform and opening up, we established a new policy to be self-sufficient in sugar production. So in the decade from 1979 to 1989, China's sugar production more than doubled, from 2.85 million tons to 5.7 million tons. By 1992, it had skyrocketed to 7.91 million tons. And, well, we had basically achieved self-sufficiency. But we were still buying 400,000 tons. And that never stopped. And as our standard of living improved, here comes the key part. Pay attention to these numbers. The demand for sugar grew and grew. From 2021 to, 2001. No, 2010. 2010. That is right. 2010. So China's average domestic production of white sugar is about 11 million tons. Yeah? Around 11 million tons. And even with that, we still have to import sugar every year. Just take a look at these import figures. So here's a chart. Take a look at this. The domestic white sugar supply and demand balance sheet. See, in this situation, hey, who is that cursing? Who is swearing in here? Who is it? What is their name? Let me see the name. Point them out to me. Quick. I am kicking them out right now. Come into my stream just to curse. What is wrong with you? All right, this is your first warning, a 7-day mute. I am not giving you a permanent ban, but hey, if you keep this up, it is a permanent ban. Got it. Oh, so Genius Boss Panda is also throwing insults. I say, you admitted it yourself. Hey, it is good that you admitted it. That is what we call leniency for confession, right? Leniency for confession. All right. So right now, how much sugar do we import each year? We are basically bringing in about 3 to 4 million tons of sugar annually. And look, by 2025, we are projected to import 4.92 million tons of sugar. In fact, our sugar imports have consistently been at a high level. So you might ask, if we wanted to, could we produce that much? Yes, we could, but there's just no need. There is just no need to dedicate a huge amount of farmland to that. If we wanted to, we could do it anytime. I mean, it is not like sugarcane is some kind of, it is a real pain to grow. We just need to be able to meet, say, 60 to 70% of our own demand. That is good enough. Honestly, folks, look, have you guys figured it out yet? Have you seen it? So we have to import 4 to 5 million tons of sugar every year, and that amount is growing annually. In 2025, it is gone up again. Last year, it increased by 13%. And that means something really crucial. Hey, thanks to Fei Sheng for the new Captain subscription. Appreciate it. So what is this super important thing I am talking about? So if Cuba could just pull itself together, even if its sugar production only stayed at half of what it used to be, even if it dropped from 8 million tons, as long as it could maintain 5 million tons. I am talking about China, just US, the Chinese. We need it for our own daily legitimate use, not just to prop them up. For our genuine needs, we could easily absorb 90% of their production. If they had the guts, if they had the pride to stand on their own 2 feet, we were able to set up Bank of Kunlun to handle Iran's crude oil business. So why cannot we just establish a Caribbean bank? We could set up a Black Pearl Bank to handle business with Cuba, right? You love imposing sanctions. Do not you? Well, if I do this, let us see what the Americans dare to say. And besides, it is not like we're just doing them a favor. We genuinely need to import that much sugar. Anyway, if Cuba signed a long-term supply deal with us for 3 million tons, we would not be losing out either. If they supply us with 3 million tons a year, they will be making money too. Now, some of you might be saying that the international sugar price has plummeted in recent years, but that is not entirely the case. Sure, the international sugar price has had its ups and downs over the years. Look, it even spiked in 24, right? A huge jump. And for Cuba's economy, if they had those few million tons of sugar to prop up their regime, it would not have collapsed. It never would have gotten to this point. But what about Cuba's situation? Its sugarcane production has completely collapsed. Let us take the last few years. For example, in 2022 to 2023, the production target was 450,000 tons. And the domestic trade department was allocated 310,000 tons of that. But only 240,000 tons were allocated for domestic use in Cuba. So what this means is that Cubans are running out of sugar. They have had to switch to using high fructose corn syrup instead, and their overall sugar consumption has plummeted by 60%. And last year was even worse. For the 2024 to 2025 period, Cuba's sugar production plummeted to just 150,000 tons. Oh, and I just said they would hit 200,000 tons by 25. I was being generous. I forgot. Their cane sugar production has already dropped to 150,000 tons. Some people call this an ankle chop, right? That is not just an ankle chop. That is a chop right through the top of the foot, straight to the soul. We are talking about a country that used to produce 8 million tons, even 10 million tons back in the 1970s, and now they are down to just 150,000. They cannot even fulfill the 400,000 ton contract they have with us anymore. They have to renegotiate with us, and now they can only sell 20 to 30,000 tons a year. I mean, what is even the point anymore? This hit a 100-year low, and people in the country often could not even find sugar. As a result, Cuba's economy completely missed out on a golden period of development. We were willing to give them a right to let them hop on our development bandwagon, but they just could not even get on board, right?